Okay, so last year I did uh the predictions in that one rant video about the Rangers. I might rant about them a bit this year, but that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to make Stanley Cup playoff predictions. Wait, why does it say 18? There's 15 rounds. What? Look, I don't get it. This website is garbage. It won't let me scroll down. It has this over on the side. Uh, oh, now it lets me scroll down. Didn't before. Uh, wouldn't let me put Taternator, not because it already existed, but because for some reason, without the hyphen, it was like this word isn't allowed, and I have no idea why. But anyway, gonna be making predictions. Oh, I have to scroll on. That's why. That makes more sense now. Still kind of annoying, but either way, gonna be making predictions, and first I'll go over what I think the awards are gonna be. So let's get the easy one out of the way. Calder, that's going to Matthew Schaefer. I I think it should go to him. I think that the writers will give it to him. It's just that simple. He had a fantastic season. Unfortunately, I wish. God, I want to say that yeah, I'm already making it about the Rangers. I want to say that I wish the Rangers lost one more game, or lost one game in regulation to the Isles last year because it would have been them who won the lottery. But of course, the balls would have been different. But either way, I would have liked them to change the balls because it means that Schaefer is probably not on the Islanders, but he is, and he's going to be tormenting us for a decade, probably more. Please pull a Tavares and just once your RFA deals up, go to Toronto. That'd be nice. Uh, and there's Norris. I think Werenski is the favorite. I think that's who they're going to give it to. I don't think it should go to him. I think that, especially with the way that he played down the stretch, Columbus really could have had a playoff spot. I kind of wanted to see them in one, but then they were awful down the stretch, and that's what cost them. They absolutely could have had the Metro 3. They could have had the Wild Card 2. Well, they couldn't have had Wild Card 2 because Metro 3 was better, but they didn't. Uh, and I don't think that Werenski really deserves it. I mean, he had a great season. I still wouldn't give it to him. I think Makar is probably going to get third, and I don't think he deserves it either. I think, in my opinion, the top two are Bouchard and Hughes, Quinn Hughes. And between them, I think I'd give it to Evan Bouchard. I mean, his whole thing. I don't know about previous years, but this year his defense was solid, and he has bad lowlights, which is gonna hurt him. But he had like 95 points or something, as well as being good defensively. Yeah, yeah, I think it goes to him. Um, Vezina, 65 games through the season. Ilya Sorokin was the runaway favorite for that award, and then he fell apart towards the end. I think a lot of that has to do with just the fact that he was overused, but I mean he was over. He was terrible down the stretch. He lost a lot. I think the writers would have given it to him until that stretch at the end. Now I think they're going to give it to Vasilevsky. Uh, Me personally, I don't mind going to Vasilevsky, but I think I'd give it to Swayman. One thing that I saw earlier today that had me dumbfounded was that Darcy Kemper should have consideration, and I have no idea where that's coming from. None of his stats were good at all. Like his win loss record, not great. His save percentage under 900, negative goals saved above expected. His goals allowed at he had 3 shutouts. That was it. Uh, just wasn't great. I don't know where that narrative started, but he did not deserve it. Had Igor Shesterkin played a full season, I might be partial to give it to him, but he didn't. He missed a month after he got hurt against Utah. I so I went to my first ever Rangers game. I think it was April. No, not April. January 14th. It was against the Senators. They were a disaster. The only good thing about it was that Gabe Perreault had 2 goals. That was fun. But those tickets were a Christmas gift. I was almost taken to the game where Utah to the game against Utah where Shesterkin and Fox went down. That would have been an awful first game experience. I mean, that one was also pretty bad, but it wasn't. It was fine. I went over Calder, I went over Norris, I went over Vezina. And so Hart, don't overthink it. It's McDavid. As for who I think the writers are gonna give it to, they've been all over the place with, or I haven't seen really anything concrete about who they're gonna vote for. I've seen things against all of them. Like McDavid, I just don't think that the voters want to vote for him. Kucherov, I saw the whole thing about how he wasn't at the Olympics, so he got an extra break, which, I mean, it wasn't his fault. It's not his fault that Russia wasn't allowed at the Olympics. He would have been on that team if it was allowed. So I find that hard to discredit him for. Nathan McKinnon had a pretty good season. I don't, but he also has such a good supporting cast that I find it hard to. I think they're gonna give it to McDavid or McKinnon, but because the Avalanche did so well and he's their best player. And then of course there were talks for Celebrini, which I I mean, before we get into, I'll get into that tangent later. But Celebrini's amazing. He's going to be the best player in the league in 5 years. He's so fun to watch. I do not like that that he was that good on Team Canada. I'm not looking forward to that in future Olympics. Uh, I'm glad that the United States won this one because I don't think we're winning 2030. I mean, we're going to be competitive, but I think Canada's just going to be incredible that time. So yeah, I think they're going to give it to McKinnon. I think that McDavid should be the MVP. And then I could give my thoughts on Jack Adams, but I've never played organized hockey. I don't even know how to skate. So I have no idea what good coaching is. I have no idea. I mean, I can tell you when the coach is running bad lines because it's just not working. That's kind of it. Um, I I don't know what's going on in the locker room. I don't know what makes a good hockey coach. Um, but I can tell you that I think they're going to give it to Lindy Ruff. That much I can tell you. And based on like my idea of of Coach of the Year awards, it's kind of which team overperformed their expectations, which I don't necessarily agree or disagree that that's what it should be based off of, but again, the writers probably don't have the greatest idea of what's going on in the locker room. So I think they're going to give it to Lindy Ruff. They might give it to John Cooper, but probably Lindy Ruff. And I mentioned that I wanted to talk about this, about Celebrini, because they missed the playoffs this year, but I really want to give a good shout out to the San Jose Sharks. I did not expect a lot of them coming into the season. Uh, of course, they'd finished last each of the last two seasons. I expected them to be better. I didn't expect them to be that much in the playoff race for as long as they were. There's very much there's a lot of work that needs to be done with that team, but they were in it until game 81. They were in the race for a long time. Macklin Celebrini is going to be the best player in the league in 5 years. They have so many good young pieces. I mean, they still need to improve the defense. They need some help with goaltending, but the rebuild is going very well. I don't know about the trade for Kiefer Sherwood. I think I would have still rather had those assets traded for him, but that's fine. Uh, I really like what that team is doing. They're really fun to watch. I want to see them compete in the playoffs next year. I really hope they make it. And I'm going to call it now. 2029 Stanley Cup champions, the San Jose Sharks. Unless I am proven way wrong by that prediction video, like if they just miss the playoffs, I can't do that, but I want to stick to that prediction if I'm still making these prediction videos when that comes up. But now, it's time to get into these predictions. And just to get it out of the way, wait. I thought you were allowed to put games. I wanted to just click Colorado, hit 4, and move on. And then just backtrack and say, no, I'll actually look into it. But, yeah, I think Colorado beats LA handily. The Kings, they had like, what, 22 regulation wins, which was third to last in the league. They were. You look at loser merchants in the dictionary, you see this logo. I mean, I think it'd be really fun to watch the Kings win that series. I mean, the Rangers get a second round pick out of it if that happens. The third for Panarin, which disaster of a trade. The third upgrades to a second. I would love that. But I just don't see it happening. Colorado is way too good of a hockey team to lose to a team that they're not doing much. I didn't like their moves heading into the season. Actually, I should probably go over what my predictions for the playoffs were heading into this season. So the teams that I thought would miss that were there last year. Okay, so in the West we had the Jets, the Stars, the Avs, the Wild, the Blues in the Central, and then Pacific, Vegas, Edmonton, and LA. I thought that LA would miss. I thought that St. Louis would miss. And I thought that their replacements... Yeah, and I thought the rest of them would stay in. I thought that their replacements would be Utah, which I was right about. And I was pretty... There are a lot of bold predictions that you could have made heading into the season that would have been true. I made the one that was wrong. I thought that the Calgary Flames would be third in the Pacific Division. I mean, I just didn't follow that team close enough to realize that they massively overperformed last year based on hot goaltending. They cannot score. Except last night against the Kings. I did watch that game. And they scored there. And then in the East, I was thinking about it for a while. What were my predictions? Because I was like, okay, I had 4 teams missing, and I had 4 new teams in the playoffs. That means, I had 4 teams missing, which means I must have had 4 teams making it. But then I was like, I don't remember what the 4th team making it was. Because in the East, I had Washington missing the playoffs. That one I nailed. I was right about that one. And I had Montreal missing, which I think that was just a miss. Um, I didn't understand the what state the Habs were in heading into the season, and picking them to miss the playoffs was kind of a stupid prediction. And I thought that the teams that would be back in, I thought the Rangers would be back in. I was like, well, last year was a disaster. They should be able to bounce back. There's a lot of talent on this team, but I realized that there's a lot of and I still agree there's a lot of talent that theoretically should be a playoff team, but there's a lot of turmoil going on internally that's not going to let it work. So I'm just looking at this how I'm explaining other stuff and I already have one prediction. So I thought that the Rangers would be back. I thought that their inner turmoil would be helped with the new coach. I want Drury fired so bad, but I know it's not going to happen because he's the only guy that can look James Dolan in the face and tell him that his dad rock band doesn't suck. And the Devils got Sonny Mehta too. I forgot about that. Fuck. But either way, I thought the Rangers would be back. And then I was like, well, if I thought that the Habs and the Caps were going to miss, who did I think was going to make it? And I could not remember. So let's go through the teams. Last year, I didn't think Boston would be back. I was nowhere near thinking the Sabres would do anything. Not a chance. Pittsburgh, no. Philadelphia, no. Maybe I thought Columbus? I'm going to say that I thought Columbus was going to jump into the playoffs, but yeah, because I thought the Leafs would stay, but they would take a step back, and I thought that the Lightning would win the division because the Panthers, they were going to do a thing. Well, I mean, missing Barkov, they weren't going to win it anyway, but their whole thing is, especially based on last year, make it to the playoffs, and that's fine. Just play who you deal with. Play who you're matched up with, and it's fine. I thought that's what the Panthers were going to do. I thought the Leafs were going to take a step back after they lost Marner, but not as big of a step back as they did. So Tampa wins the division. I thought Canes would win the division. I thought that the Stars would win the division, and I thought that... Pretty sure I predicted Vegas would win the division. So I was right on two of them. I may be... this may be revisionist history. I actually don't remember these are my predictions, but either way, it doesn't matter. Now let's actually get into the matchups. The Kings are getting dog walked. The Avalanche are too good. I think this is a sweep. The Kings, I mentioned 22 regulation wins. That is abysmal. They don't really have an identity. I didn't like their moves in the offseason. And they really only made this spot because everybody else fell backwards out of it. Nashville could have taken it. They chose not to. San Jose could have taken it. I really wanted them to, but they didn't. Winnipeg, I don't know what happened there. I think they really struggled to start the season and they just couldn't bounce back. Hellebuck, I mean, back-to-back Vezinas. He won Hart last year. Didn't reach that form. That hurts. And somehow Mark Scheifele had 103 points, and that's the quietest 100-point season I think I've ever seen. Because nobody was talking about it, but he had that. St. Louis, they didn't want it. So the Kings just kind of fell into this position. They're not really going to make any noise these playoffs. I think that Colorado, they won the President's Trophy. They're the best team in this. They're one of the best teams in this league. They're going to take this in 4. Now, for an actually interesting matchup, Dallas versus Minnesota. This is the one to watch out for in the first round. I mean, they. Let me look where they finished. A big difference between the way that I recorded the first video, I'm just sitting in a room with with recording a black void with my phone, so I don't have my phone to actually check everything. But now I'm recording this on a laptop, so I can see all the stats and pull them up. So, wait, fuck, what was I looking up? Oh, I wanted to see where they were in. So Dallas finished third. Minnesota finished seventh. Okay, they fell further than I thought that they would, but either way, these are two fantastic hockey teams. I The Stars are incredibly balanced. They have great offense, they have great defense, they have great goaltending. It's hard to really pick against them in anything. Uh, Last year, of course, they were my cup prediction. Um, and the temptation to pick them to win the cup again this year pretty high. I really like the Stars team. And I flip back and forth on how I feel about the playoff format because getting all these cool matchups in the first round is really nice, but then it hurts later rounds, which sometimes I feel really good about, sometimes not so much, and it's a weird thing. Don't put me on the board to decide it because I am not going to give you a good answer. I'd probably say keep it as it is because I wouldn't want to be responsible for making a big change like that. Uh, because of course, we wouldn't get the Battle of Pennsylvania. That's cool. That's what you want to see. But it does cause problems with matchups like these because one of these two teams is out in the first round. Uh, but Minnesota is another fantastic hockey team. They I think they exceeded my expectations for the season, but also a big part of that is I didn't expect them to trade for Quinn Hughes. Like you choose a guy that's gonna be in contention for the Norris year in, year out. I mean, they gave up a lot of pieces to do it, but if you're trying to win now, the futures don't really. If you do win, losing those futures don't really matter because the whole point is you're trying to win. Uh, and one thing that I think is really interesting about this is the whole Olympics thing because GM of Minnesota is Bill Guerin, who is also the GM of Team USA. And I don't think that Jason Robertson is going to be very happy. Or I doubt he's very happy about it and wants to get his payback for that. And I think this is going to be a hell of a series. It would be a disgrace to the sport if this went anything other than 7. It's so hard to pick against them because they're just so good. But I'm going to say that in 7 games, Minnesota takes the series. Now let's get on to Vegas and Utah. Vegas was not good really all season. And then they were middling. I think they finished with a losing record. There were times where it's like, oh, I don't know if they're making the playoffs. They had a lot of loser points, which helped them out a bit. But it didn't seem like they were living up to the Vegas standard. Like, I'm pretty sure this is the first time they had a losing record. As far as wins and losses go, points percentage, they were above 500, but total wins versus losses was below 500. uh, and they weren't great until they hired John Tortorella, and everything turned around for them. I think they went 7-0-1 in games with Tortorella, which is that's a crazy turnaround. I know that all the analytics were in favor of what Bruce Cassidy was doing. So yeah, he was probably it was probably just an unlucky firing, but Vegas doesn't care, and they bring in a guy with short-term benefits, and if you're trying to win a cup, getting those short-term benefits right before the playoffs is probably the right move. And Vegas is so good, I trust their decision making. They know what they're doing. Utah, I'm excited to see what they're doing in this year. They have a pretty interesting team. They had locked up wild card one a while ago. I mean, it wasn't locked up, but it was pretty obvious that they were gonna be there. And a great thing about them being in wild card one, they're going against the Pacific Division. This division was weak. A stat that I find crazy is that the Calgary Flames missed the playoffs last year with 96 points. That would have won them the division this year. Vegas had 95. It's crazy. I think Utah finished with 92, which isn't great, but it's not that much worse than 95. And here they are in the playoffs. And this, I think, is going to be a really fun matchup to watch. This is one I think can go any direction. And because I really have no idea what's going on with these teams, I think it goes to 7. And I'm going to pick the upset. I think Utah takes this. Then Edmonton versus Anaheim. These teams are weird. The Oilers, I mean, it's the Oilers. They got McDavid. They got Draisaitl, but Draisaitl's been hurt. I don't know how he's gonna be in the first round. I haven't. I think I saw one update about his status, but I don't remember what it was. And I think it was a few weeks ago. He hasn't come back. My guess is that he's gonna play in the first round. I don't know if he's gonna be playing well. But when you have a player that caliber, you kind of want him in the lineup. So I think they're going to force him to play, for better or for worse. But the big thing with the Oilers this year and their turmoil, goaltending has been a disaster. They tried a big gamble in the offseason, or not in the offseason, like mid-season, trading for Tristan Jarry. Awful. He is unplayable. And I got to look up this cap hit and what the contract is. So Stuart Skinner is on year 3 with a... I'm looking at his picture. His mustache has gotten even bigger. Wow. He's on year 3 of a 3-year deal paying him $2.6 million per. So he was a UFA after the season. And he had better stats than Tristan Jarry. Since the trade, he had better stats than Tristan Jarry, who has 2 more years left at 5.375. Disaster of a trade for the Oilers. I don't know how the Penguins fleeced him like that. Jarry was on waivers last year. Nobody picked him up. And at this point, the Oilers are like, yeah, let's trade for this guy. Unplayable. I know Connor Ingram is going to be the starter in the playoffs because you can't put Jarry out there, but Ingram doesn't inspire that much faith either. So I think that the Oilers are going to be weird heading in these playoffs. And the Ducks, I did not see this team coming. I had no expectations. I'm glad that Chris Kreider is back in the playoffs. That's what I care about. I like Dostal. Truba's there. Uh, the Ducks just aren't a team that I really pay too much attention to. Um, so I don't really know what to say about them. This series, I think, is gonna be a weird one. Uh, Neither of these teams inspire that much confidence, especially the whole thing with the Oilers, their goaltending and Draisaitl's status. But they've been to two straight Cup finals. The Oilers are hard to bet against. I did it last year in every series, and I was only correct in the Cup final when they lost. I thought that the Kings would beat them. Nope. I thought that Vegas would beat them. Nope. I thought that Dallas would beat them. Nope. And so for that, I think the Oilers take this in oh. Okay, this is where it comes in. 6 or no wait. 4, 7, 7, 6. There we go. I thought that was a thing that happened. Okay. What is this? Okay, that's what the extra selections are. That makes more sense. Because I know that here it's like how many goals do you think are going to be scored in the series or in the Cup final? So now let's head on over to the Eastern Conference. The Buffalo Sabres. I have a friend who's a big Bills fan. And he kind of pays attention to the Warriors and basketball. And he's kind of been hovering in and around the Sabres because it is his local team. Where he's like, oh, maybe. He asks me about the Sabres all the time. What they're doing, what I think of this team. And he hasn't really got into it, probably because they've been so bad for so long. And he asked me about them drafting, what was the guy's name? That defenseman they took that did not look happy to be there. He asked me about that trade, or about that pick, and I'm like, well, I don't know, because you can't really tell from prospects unless they're the top one, because they're usually not going to come in right away. But I did like them going after defense, because their defense is awful. Or it was. And every once in a while, he'd ask me about the Sabres. Even once they hit their 10-game win streak, I'm like, don't bet on them. It's the Sabres. They're going to blow it. Expect nothing from this team. You will only be hurt. And that was my attitude until probably January, when they were holding, I think they went on a second 10-game win streak, and it's like, they don't lose. Since the new year, since the Olympic break, they have had the best record in hockey. And I can't believe it. I can't believe they're here. I can't believe they won their division. But I really want to see a run out of this team. Not for, well, I mean, I guess it would be cool to see. It is fun for the league. It's fun for the fans of the team, but I really want them to go on a run, because I think that's the kind of thing that would fully get my friend into hockey, into being a Sabres fan. I really want to see that happen. And then there's the Bruins. It's Boston. Boston has a pretty good team. You know, you got Pasternak, you got Swayman. It's a pretty good team. I think overall the Sabres outmatch them. But the problem is that it's Boston. They're a bunch of cockroaches. I hate Boston. I don't want to see anything good come from them, but it always does. God, who are they playing? Who's the Celtics playing? I think it's the Magic? No, it's the Sixers. I hope the Sixers sweep them. It's not going to happen. The Sixers are the ones getting swept. Uh, but yeah, Boston, they never have anything bad go for them. So it it's hard for me to pick against Boston because of just who they are. I didn't expect them to be here. I thought once they traded Marchand, that was them signaling we're rebuilding. It's gonna be a few years before we're back in the playoffs, and then they're back after year one. It it's hard to pick against them, but I really like this Sabres team. So I think we get a win from the Buffalo Sabres in 6. Now here, Tampa, Montreal. This is a series everyone's looking forward to. People are saying it's going to be juggernaut, going to go 7-1, the best series in the first round, and I strongly disagree. The thing with the Habs, I was wrong about them in the regular season, but I can look at numbers. I looked at them more closely this time. And one thing about the Montreal Canadiens, they are heavily reliant on the power play and on 3-on-3 overtime. These are the playoffs. It's an open secret that the refs hold their whistles. They're not going to get nearly as many power play opportunities as they normally do, which they're pretty good at drawing penalties, so they get a lot. And they're good at forcing games to overtime where they can play 3-on-3 where they know they have a strong advantage. They're going to get fewer power play opportunities, and they 3-on-3 hockey just doesn't exist. I mean, well, it does in the rule. It can happen. They're not going to be faced with it much, if ever. So, and they are significantly below average on 5-on-5, which when the rule set of the playoffs favors 5-on-5 more than it does in the regular season, I don't like their chances in this series at all. Tampa has the experience. They have the 5-on-5 strengths. They are also good on special teams, so they're going to be able to neutralize Montreal's strengths. And like a big thing I saw that, or part of the game between them and between these two teams like 2 weeks ago. I saw the ending of it. I know that Montreal won that game in regulation with 2 5-on-5 goals, but part of that is that they had 7 power plays. They didn't score on any of them because the good on Tampa, but they were able to just control the game for so long that Tampa didn't have the opportunities to go, and they'll be able to have more opportunities when there's no penalties. So I don't think this series is going to be close. I think the Habs are getting smacked. I think the Lightning win this series in 5. Carolina and Ottawa. It's been a season for the Ottawa Senators. They were bottom of the league. I think they were last in the Eastern Conference at one point. Like, decent way through the season. They could score, they could play defense, but they could not buy a save at all. So for a lot of the season, their struggles came from just they couldn't, no goaltending. Linus Ullmark, I think he hasn't been great since he came to Ottawa. I expected him to be better. I thought that Ottawa fleeced Boston on that trade. I should have known better. It's Boston. But I think that... But clearly Boston won that trade. I think that their goaltending has gotten a lot better. I think they've increased their scoring even more to compensate for that lack of goaltending. And the Ottawa Senators are pretty good force heading into the playoffs. But they're going against the Carolina Hurricanes, a team that is the definition of consistency. They are so good in the regular season. They haven't lost in the first round in who knows how long. Uh, I mean, if you want to get technical about it, they lost in the first round in 2020, but they won the qualifying round. So they haven't. Uh, I'm trying to think about it. I think 2002 they were in the Cup final. I am looking up Carolina Hurricanes playoff berths. But since year by year. So let's see. The last time that they lost in the first round, that includes like 2020, that was first round, but they won qualifying round. 2001, where they lost to the Devils 4-2. It's been 25 years since they lost round one. They haven't won a cup since 2006. They haven't made the cup final since 2006, despite being in four Eastern Conference finals. They've only won six. They've only won one game in all four of those. But they're a force to be reckoned with. They play very solid. They're consistent. They're good on special teams. Goaltending is solid enough. I think if you're going to see a weakness out of the Canes, it's their goaltending, but it's not bad. It's just not. When you think of the Canes, you don't think of their goalies. But Busty is pretty good. Anderson, I think he's just too old and washed, which happens. So, as much as I like the Sens' chances, or the Sens heading into the playoffs, I think they got dealt a bad hand by needing to face the Canes. And in this case, I think that the Carolina Hurricanes take the series in six. I think the Sens will put up a good fight, but they're just playing the wrong team. And now I mentioned earlier, we got the Battle of Pennsylvania. I saw neither of these teams coming. I thought that the I remember all those like Dubas talking earlier in the season that probably Malkin's final year with the team, the core's too old. And then partially bolstered by a somewhat weak Metro. It's not as weak as the Pacific, but it's a little weak. Oh wait, both of these teams had 98 points. Damn. Huh. Did I say 98 wins? I meant 98 points. But yeah, pretty good. A big thing with the Penguins is that they have 16 overtime losses this year, which you could say is they're not winning games in regulation too often. That they did win them more in regulation than the Flyers did, but which is why they're in the position. Actually, they won 34 in regulation. No, they're pretty good in regulation. It's just that they suck when it comes to overtime. They're not great in the 3-on-3 period, and then they are abysmal in the shootout. But those don't exist in the playoffs, which I think leads to the Pens' benefit. The Flyers, on the other hand, are the complete opposite in that case because the Penguins had 3 wins and 10 losses in the shootout. The Flyers had 10 wins and 4 losses. You're not gonna get a shootout in the playoffs. I mean, I know that Zegras, he's really good in the shootout, which probably helps them a lot. I know they made that trade. But when you have 16 wins past regulation, it's hard to really take a team seriously come playoff time. And so with that in mind, I think that the Pittsburgh Penguins are winning this series in 6. I said 6, I said 5, and I said 6. Now, second round. This is going to be such a good matchup. Colorado, Minnesota. It's a shame that we are guaranteed 2 of Colorado, Dallas, and Minnesota out in the first round, or out in the first 2 rounds. We can't get either of those in the conference final. It's such a shame. But man, this I want to see this matchup so bad. I mean, well, Colorado's winning. We're going to see them against Dallas or Minnesota. And let me look at how these teams fared in the regular season. When did they last play? First one I saw was on, I think that said March 8th, where the Avs won that game in the shootout. Okay, that was the last time they played. Season series, they split. Each team had a dominant win in regulation, and each team had a shootout victory. So they're pretty evenly matched based on head-to-head this season. We're getting a good series here. One holdup that I have with Colorado is I don't know. Did Landeskog get hurt again? I think he did, but I don't remember. I think he got hurt. I'm not sure. I can't really hold that against him because I don't know. This series could go either way, really, is what it boils down to. I don't have anything to go on other than my gut feeling. Both of these teams are incredible. They could both absolutely run through everything. But I'm going to take the Minnesota Wild in 6 games. I think Colorado's going to keep it close, but Minnesota's just going to win that one. Utah and Edmonton. This is it's so weird. I don't even know where to start with this one. I know what I'm going to predict, but how I'm going to analyze this, I don't know. I'm going to use the analysis to help me. All right. Yeah, so they're pretty even on goals per game. Not that much higher for the Oilers. Goals against per game, the Oilers are hurting. So they're pretty even there. Power play. Yeah, Edmonton, they have the power play. But that's a problem with this team. Their power play is too good in a portion of the year where you get fewer opportunities. Penalty kill is fine. So I think that's going to hold back the Oilers. Again, I still don't know the whole... I'm guessing that Draisaitl is going to be fully back for this series. But the goaltending is so bad that I know I predicted against Edmonton last year and I paid for it. And it's really hard to do that again because I know that. But damn it, I like Utah. I think Utah wins this series. I think they win it in six. Now, Buffalo versus Tampa. It would be a travesty if we don't see this matchup. I need Montreal to lose just for this because I don't know what it was, but one night I was bored. And so I checked ESPN, check what hockey games are on, see if there's anything interesting going on. I see that the Sabres and the Lightning are playing. And then I happen to see a friend post on his Instagram that he's at the game. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to turn on that game and see what's happening. And what ensued was the 8-7 Buffalo win over the Lightning with over 100 penalty minutes in what was probably the greatest regular season hockey game I've ever watched. It felt like fate that I was able to just turn on that game. That was my friend's first ever hockey game. He was taken with another friend who's really into hockey. It was his first game. I can't imagine that being your first game because my first game was the Rangers getting blown the fuck out by the Senators. Thanks. So, but what I saw in that game, unbelievable. Those teams hate each other. We need this matchup. And the way that series that these two teams have played out against each other, I think this is going to 7 just because I need it to. I need these teams to play against each other for 7 games. It would make the perfect series. In the season series, Buffalo won 3 games out of 4. The one game that the Lightning won was an OT. I think that the Sabres are going to take this series. I think we're getting 7 games. And we'll see the Buffalo Sabres make the conference final again. Yeah, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to rub the salt in the wound. Yeah, Sabres are going to the Eastern Conference final. And then you have the Canes and the Penguins. The Penguins, the Canes are just too good. The Penguins, it would be nice to see Sidney Crosby go on another deep run, but I just don't see it. They got to play a really tough team here in the second round. It's not a good matchup for them. I don't think they're going to stand much of a chance. Congratulations making it back to the playoffs. I didn't see that coming from you. Great job. But I don't see anything else coming out of the Penguins. I got to take the Canes in 5. And then the conference finals. Months before, I kind of have an idea of what I am predicting for at least a cup matchup. The exact structure of the playoffs, how it's going to go, it's a bit hazy. I don't know, but for a while, I tend to think this is what my cup matchup is going to be. And a big part of what I was thinking, it was whoever is coming out of the Central Division is going to the cup final. They're winning the cup. And of course, when I say that, I'm initially thinking Colorado, Dallas, or Minnesota. And then as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, it'd be fun if Utah were to make a run for it. And the more I looked at, the more I thought about it, the more I liked Utah's chances. Utah fared pretty well against all three of these teams in the regular season. And I think even against Minnesota, who I have them facing, they had a winning record. They won the season series. I think they split with Dallas and then 3-1 against Colorado, but they kept it close. So, Utah, I really like their chances in this series. I think we're going 7, but I think the Utah Mammoth run ends here and we get the Minnesota Wild in the Cup final after beating the Mammoth in 7 games. And then in the East, the Canes, their thing is they make it to the Eastern Conference final and they blow it. They completely blow a gasket. They can't do anything in this round. I don't understand why, because it's so 2009 was Boston. 2019 was all. Wait, was 2009 Boston? It was still long ago. Doesn't matter. But 2019, they lost in the conference final. They got swept. 2023, they got swept. 2022 and 24 they lost to the Rangers in the second round. Last year, they didn't get swept, but they lost in 5 after being down 3-0 to the Florida Panthers in the Eastern Conference final. At some point, you gotta just actually show me you can do it. I don't understand how you can make it to this point and lose every time is something that's unfathomable, because it's if it was just you don't perform in the playoffs, fine, different rule set, different intensity, I get it. But you win the first 2 rounds pretty frequently. What is so hard in the conference final? I can't explain. Maybe it's because they have to go against Atlantic Division opponents. I get that part, but I don't think it'll end in a sweep or in 5, because the Canes are too good of a team to predict that happening to them. As funny as it would be. But I also can't, in good conscience, pick them to win this series. So, if you had said this to me at the beginning of the season, that I would be predicting this, I would send you to a mental institution, because for so long I fought against the idea of this team being good. I mentioned that friend earlier. I shot down for so long anything about the Sabres being good. And now I I think that the Eastern Conference in the Stanley Cup final will be represented by the Buffalo Sabres. I I don't like this menu. Go away. I I think they win against the Canes in 6. I can't believe it. Minnesota is a team that heading into this season, maybe you could have convinced me that they'd make it to the Cup final. I wasn't too high on them. I probably wasn't as high on them as I should have been. I think I saw Wild Card last year and I was like, they're pretty good. They're not crazy. Uh, Leaving out the fact that Kaprizov missed like half the season. He's their best player. Um, well, now they have Quinn Hughes, so that's a bit of a debate. But at the time, it was Kaprizov best player. He missed their entire season, or half the season. That's gonna hurt them, and also the division was just really good. So I think I underrated them from what I should have. And then the Buffalo Sabres, no. Nobody saw this coming. Well, I'm sure some people did. I didn't. Not at all. Not a chance. And this is I think this would be a really interesting matchup. These are two teams that have never won a cup, so we are guaranteed. If this is the matchup, we are guaranteed a first-time cup winner, and that's really exciting. I think I've said as much as I can about these teams. Well, that's not true. I've definitely skipped over a lot of details, partially because it's kind of late and I have stuff I need to do. Well, I don't have stuff I need to do, but it's late and I want to stop because I've been going for just over an hour at this point. Uh, but I've said all I wanted to say about these teams. And if you caught what I said earlier, I think I've already spoiled what my prediction is because I believe that the 2026 Stanley Cup champions in 6 games are the Minnesota Wild. Uh, I'm going to do some math now. Number of goals, 41. I have definitely read. I mean, what I was gonna do it anyway, so it's not like. All right. Yeah. So these are my predictions. These are actually printed out now, so you can see them. That means people will actually probably watch them because I don't think people want to just watch a white void with poor audio quality for 2 hours, like the first 3 sports rant videos I did were. So yeah, I I I think that the Wild are going to win the cup. That's my prediction. But this is a season where I think any team can win it. I This is my prediction. My hope is that it's on the levels of like 2019 in terms of how insane it is. You see a team come out of nowhere like Philadelphia and Anaheim in the final. Like heading into the football season, nobody would have seen Patriots Seahawks in the final. We get or in the Super Bowl, and it was a great season. I'm hoping we get absolute chaos. Uh, Main thing I want this matchup. Please, please show this to us. We need it. There aren't a lot of teams that I would really be upset if they won. Um, who do I not want to win? I don't mind any of these teams. I don't dislike Vegas as much as most people do. I wouldn't really be that upset by it. Utah would be fun. Anaheim fine. I'm not a fan of the Oilers for whatever reason. They just kind of rub me the wrong way for I don't know why. Like I have no reason to be against them, but Uh I'd love to see Buffalo win it. That'd be so cool. Boston, fuck Boston. Habs, their fans deserve nothing. I hope they lose. And and fuck Philadelphia fans. I hope they lose. Rest of these teams, I don't really mind too much. Yeah, I think that's about it. And so now you have predictions. You have a graph that you can come back and laugh at once I am completely wrong and go 0 for 8 in the first round if I do that. Oh yeah, I remember last year I said that if I went 0-8 in the first round, then I would give to a charity associated, give $50 to a charity associated with the winner. Uh, that didn't happen. I think I went 4-4 in the first round, so I didn't have to do that. But I'm gonna place the same bet now. If I go 0-8, $50 to some charity associated with the winning team, whether it be a foundation set up by the team, a foundation set up by a player, something where like a fan thing with the fan base. I'll look into them. I'll see what I like and donate to one that I like. Yeah, so that's it. See ya.